crying babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Right. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguise is religion.
Check 1 2 1 2. Let me check the audio settings out here. It's a rainy monsoon day in Copenhagen, Denmark. And yeah, you know, folks have been expecting this kind of rain, but it appears that today is going to be the day where we kind of get hit with the first real wave, right, of what is expected to be a lot of storms to come in the future. You know, luckily for people that don't know about Copenhagen, Denmark, the Scandinavian, but particularly Copenhagen, it's one of the nations that was leading the green initiative. So a lot of things that countries, maybe the US, could have implemented, Denmark already started implementing these things like 20 years ago. So for an example, in a natural disaster, you know, things like that, flooding, for example, that places like Texas have, or southern states in the US might tend to have a lot of. Well, the electricity still stays on here because, you know, they started burying the electrical lines like 20 years ago. So I think in Denmark, like 80%, maybe 85% of all electrical lines are buried. That means when it's a lot of wind and trees fall down, the electricity is still on. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Nate, what's up? Yeah, and you know, things like this. You know, businesses can kind of still function. People can stay in their homes without the light going out. Let's hope the internet lasts, by the way. But even though we got fiber optic here in Copenhagen, there's still, I believe, parts of the system that still requires some antenna use, even if you have fiber optic internet in your homes. But enough said about that. Today, like yesterday, is about saving America. And, you know, I would say this is really the next best campaign for the United States. Like, save the U.S. should be the next campaign slogan for any party that really wants to do something and recognize the trouble that the U.S. is in. I mean, a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people are used to the U.S. being the most secure country on earth, being very powerful, and I don't think a lot of people have thought through some of the bad things that could happen when you have poor leadership. Like, for example, and not just poor leadership, but political strife, on the social level, just on the ground across the country. I mean, what do you think a 9/11 right now would look like in the U.S.? Do you think that would help to bring Americans together, or do you think it would divide Americans even more? Do you think something like an attack on the U.S. from the outside, let's say someone that Trump is collaborating with, for example, or some group, you hear that lightning? Or some group that got access to Hexet's, communication, since he likes to use other apps to communicate and share government top secret information. What if an attack like that happened right now just because of, hey, Americans think they're safe? What if, how would these MAGA folk react and these so-called liberals react, right? How would they react? Would they have a come to Jesus moment, a come together America moment, let's save America, or would it just go into civil war? Well, hey, these are the kind of things you got to think about in advance. It's always better to prepare in advance than to be on the last in the line. In Danish, they call it Rosina i pulsen, to be the part of the hot dog that's at the end that looks like a little raisin. You don't want to be last in line all the time. Sometimes it pays to be ahead of the troubles, and you let me know what you think about that. Like, is the U.S. in good shape to, I'm talking about the American people. I ain't talking about the military. The military is capable of blowing up all kinds of stuff. I'm talking about the quality of life inside of the U.S., the political unrest. Will Americans come together in a foreign attack on the U.S. right now, or will they sink into civil war, for example? Will a political party attempt to take advantage of that attack and do what it maybe wants to do, send the military out to attack the American people versus protect the country from the real people that attacked it? Who knows? In any case, let's get back to the main topic. This lady is walking. She's inching her way out to freedom. I don't know if it's inching or if it's just a couple of steps, Y'all hear that lightning? A couple of moves, on the checkerboard. I wouldn't even call this chess. This is more like checkers, like just 3 more stops to freedom. 1 more stop to freedom was more like it because she's already made 2 steps. She's had the meetings. She had the congressional dialogue, like, hey, this is what I want. If y'all want me to talk. She had the private meetings with this. If y'all want me to help you, this is what I want. I want a pardon. Right. And now she gets moved. She gets moved to a what did they call it? She was in a maximum security thing before. And now it's kind of like free and open for the celebrity stars, the people that are safe, the white collar criminals. She's been moved there. And that often happens before they let you free, That often happens a lot of times. Was this at her request? Was this one of the things that she negotiated in the private meetings with the DOJ? Or was this just something that just happened, for just, hey, whatever reason, was she in danger? Oh, let me see something. Les Grossman wrote, government supporters are off the train. And Bilderberg Group wrote, Trump supporters are off the train. Elaborate on that. I think they way off. I think they about to let this lady free, if that's what you mean. And she's going free. Let's just get ahead of the chitter chatter. The lady's going free. If you want to call it a pardon, if you want to call it a reduced sentence, if you want to call it whatever, she is going free, basically. We know that because First of all, Trump played MAGA like they're just cheap. And they are. Let's be honest. They fell for tropes. They fell for racialized tropes. You know, they fell for the homophobic. They fell for the, 0.1% tranny, tropes that the MAGA that Trump administration threw out there like little bones. Because he knew the MAGA folks would chase that, and then they would be like, well, we don't need healthcare, fuck that. We don't need schools, education, fuck that. We don't need all of this, we don't need all of that. We don't need the things that everybody in every other Western developed nation needs. Nah, forget that. We super MAGA. We could survive without them. And that's what they got basically right now. I mean, they have that. You know what I'm saying? They got super MAGA. The U.S. is super magnified right now, and this is what it looks like. It looks like this. BG is playing two-party booming politics. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's two. I don't believe myself in the two-party politics because I think it's a little more detailed than that myself. I think there's more details, which is why I tell people, vote for things. Don't vote for party. Even if you're a member of a party, remember, you can always vote for the official that is going to push an agenda you want. And to me, it seems like if you don't have fair housing, if you don't have a decent paying job, the right to it, a surviving a job that allows you to pay the bills. Come on. If you don't have, decent, just these basic things, come on, enough to put your kids through a little, to get them access to education, or yourself, if you don't have enough to pay your electricity bill month after month after month, those might be things you want to vote for. You might want to hear a politician you vote for talk about that in detail. A little less talk about the trannies, a little more talk about your paycheck in your pocket and your bills getting paid and food getting in your kids' mouths. I would think, regardless of what party they are, you would be voting for the politicians talking about those things. That's what I would think. But some folks, they go for the easy bait, man. It's like fishing out there. You got to be cautious when you're a little fish in the ocean, and there's a lot of fishes out there in the ocean, but damn, the one that just goes for any old bait, you just get hauled up on the ship and there it is. You become food for somebody. And I think MAGA, that's really the lesson for MAGA. I mean, the trillionaires got their tax break. They got their payoff. They got their money, da-da-da-da-da. And the MAGA people got, let's go around with no real plan and just chase people indiscriminately throughout the street. Yeah, but where's the data going to show something is really happening? What is the data going to show when this is all over? What's the data going to look like when it's all over? The MAGA people don't believe in data. They believe in make-believe. You can just say whatever and that's good enough for them. And that should be sad. But, I mean, at least that's my observation. That's my observation, in the federal, Build-A-Bear says in the Federal Reserve. I mean, well, Elon Musk is in the Federal Reserve. He got access to the Federal Reserve. I mean, he's a naturalized American. He got access faster than any. I mean, can you imagine? Are there any Americans that are, been 3 generations deep in the United States, 4 generations deep in the United States that have had the access to the Federal Reserve that Elon Musk has had, or Trump? Any? I think that's another MAGA issue. They talk a lot about being American, but they don't seem to have a whole lot of Americans up there. Not that deep. I mean, they might be American lookalikes. They might be flag holders, but I mean, I've been American. My family's been American. I never really I never had to hold up a flag for somebody to know I was American. You see what I mean? I never had to hold up a flag for somebody to know I'm American. When I walk around the U.S., when I go around the U.S., regardless of what part, everybody knows. You see what I mean? You're supposed to be able to recognize an American Without a flag, you're supposed to be able to recognize different looking types of Americans. Without a flag, you're supposed to be able to recognize different ethnic groups, many different ethnic groups of Americans that have been there since the beginning of the country. As an American, if you really study the U.S., if you went to school and had any class on American history, you should be prepared to be an American. But a lot of these MAGA folk don't, man. They don't even know their own history. They just don't know. But in any case, there's more things coming out. Homegirl is released. She's free. She's about to run wild. She ain't free, but she's one step. She's the last step from freedom, from walking the streets. And that means she's going to walk away with a lot of secrets. She's going to get paid. She's probably going to have a book. Yeah. Hey, we could be reading the Ghislaine Maxwell book, because if she gets a pardon, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure she's going to get a pardon because she can write a book then. If she doesn't get a pardon, I don't believe she can write a book with this commuting of sentence thing. I don't think she would be allowed to make money off of a book in the U.S. But you never know. Trump might change that. And we might, with either one, a pardon or commuting a sentence, we might actually get a Ghislaine Maxwell book, bestseller. Who knows? I mean, Trump did he get a bestseller? I don't know. But it could be that we close to getting one. But in any case, let's see what's going on here.
And set on fire. Here's Pierre.
This is the dude. This is the dude I was telling you. MAGA ICE doesn't want to confront these types of Americans. And listen, there's a lot of Americans like this. There's a lot of Americans, especially in urban cities. I mean, we read, we've had civil unrest in the 60s. We've read all types of stories. I mean, we participate in the military. We have veterans. We have Vietnam vets, Korean War veterans, World War II veterans. We have vets, across the country from a lot of different backgrounds. Native Americans have vets. We know about guerrilla warfare. I mean, and it just occurred to me. I don't know if I was joking around a little bit too much yesterday. I don't know if people got what I was saying when I was throwing this out here. I'm not talking about this guy's color, right? I'm talking about that there's plenty of Americans that understand flammable liquids. It's hard for a group of people standing around with guns to evade once it's thrown on them. That's what I was talking about. So you may not just want to be ICE standing around looking all macho in the wrong part of town, because there's people that know this kind of stuff. So that's what I was alluding to. I was saying ICE doesn't want to confront people that know stuff like this. There's other things too. Don't get me wrong. Fluids can be highly dangerous to a group of macho men standing around in uniforms. Water on the street, water. You just crack open the goddamn fire hydrant. Electrical cable. So that's what I mean by fuck around with the wrong people and find out. ICE, that's really what I mean. There is no real American that's going to put up with your shit anymore. When you start fucking with real Americans from the United States of America, whose families have shed blood generation after generation for centuries, you best understand what you're fucking with. But I ain't going to play it anymore. Let me get back to the main topic. But that's what I was getting at yesterday. I don't know how many people caught that. I was joking a little bit, but in any case, this damn lady is getting out of jail. She's getting out.
The devastating flood back in May.
What the heck? Where are my clips at? Here we go.
Did one of those stolen, persons that include Virginia?
Let me turn this up a little bit, the volume, so I can hear it.
Yeah, Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
This is so creepy how Trump talks about this. And yeah, I saw your message, Bill DeBear. We are a country, an occupied country by no. We are blackmailed by several different countries. Russia, Israel, and a few others because of this Epstein debacle. And that's what American citizens need to know. It's not just one. It's not just, don't be anti-Semitic about it. Be factual about it. What you have seen, what you are witnessing is a president that's being blackmailed by several different groups. Okay? Has nothing to do with religion. So let's not spookify this. This guy, and this is what people have been saying from the beginning. But MAGA folk like Joe Rogan, they didn't care. They thought it was just make believe. They thought it was a hoax. They thought this stuff was a hoax, even though they had women out there that have said this about Trump, little people that said that they were around Epstein and Trump, that he knows about this stuff. I mean, for all you know, look, the more you listen to Trump, the more you get a good picture of him. I mean, who said Maralago wasn't a honeypot itself? Who said that they both weren't running honeypots, Trump and Maxwell? Who said that they both weren't? I mean, should we start wondering who the hell been to Maralago? And because he himself said that this girl was a towel girl. She's a minor. She's a towel girl. And he's saying that she stole more. That Epstein stole more of his people. How many minors? I mean, what's going on? What kind of massage therapy? What kind of resort was Mar-a-Lago? Were people getting sexual massages in Mar-a-Lago? Was he running a honeypot? Was Trump having minors in Mar-a-Lago? I mean, let's talk about it.
So this does open a bigger can of worms, so to speak.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
So this does open a bigger can of worms, so to speak. Monica, despite Giuffre's accusations, then the four accusers who testified in trial that
Les, what you talking about? Les said, hold on. Les Grossman said, plot twist, she's already out. Oh, really, Les? Is she already out? Because she just got moved yesterday. So that was quick, but I don't know how long you've been listening, but I've been saying she's going to get a pardon. I've been saying that for over a week now, since the whole idea of a pardon came up. Of course, pardon makes sense to me for Trump. If he wants to shut her up, he better give her that pardon. It's just that simple. That's the only way to guarantee she's going to shut up. You could commute her sentence, but it's going to come out later to haunt you. You could, and whatever is going to happen, commuting or pardon, it's going to happen relatively fast. This might be why you're seeing this transfer happen so fast. And the reason why is because the Republican Party is scared shitless. They know that they lied, and they know that Trump lied, and they know that they are going to do very, very bad in this next midterm election. And they're trying to figure out a way how they can explain to their base that they weren't part of the swamp too. They're trying to figure that out. And so the only way they can do that is to get Ghislaine Maxwell to throw some diverse statements out there, redact a lot of the Epstein files, and then release the parts that aren't, release some of the things, cherry pick the information they want. But here's the thing, y'all. MAGA needs to understand this. And other Americans, this is not a MAGA thing anymore. Americans need to understand this. The United States of America is not safe. The president, and there are other people, officials, possibly Supreme Court justices and others that are being blackmailed by foreign governments because of what has happened with the Epstein stuff, around the Epstein stuff. So you cannot have a free operating country until you know every person involved. You just can't. You're not going to get a fair, decent wage for work until you figure that out. You're not going to get health care until you figure that out. Affordable health care. You're not going to get affordable education or access to education, better access, until you figure that out. You're not going to be a free country. You're just not. You will be paying taxes, though. You will continue to pay the same tax that you pay now for less and get less than others get. You will continue to take home less money out of your monthly paycheck after all your expenses are paid. Very different from other Western nations. That is what you will get until you get to the bottom of this. But let me let some of this rock.
Them. Despite Maxwell's conviction for sexually exploiting and abusing underage girls, President Trump still hasn't ruled out a pardon for her. Do we know if anyone is advising him on this specific issue?
Yeah, and in fact, when he is asked about the potential for a pardon, he says, well, I'm allowed to do it, trying to assert the fact that if he wanted to exercise that presidential power, he could offer and extend some clemency. But he has also said that it's not the appropriate time to talk about it. And remember that that's some of the language that the Department of Justice has used when it's talked about the meetings between the Deputy Attorney General, Todd.
You know when it's going to be the appropriate time? When he signed the paperwork. And it's coming. There will be an appropriate time. What he's saying is, stop fucking asking him, is he going to pardon her? God damn it. Wait and see. Shut the hell up and learn your place.
Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell saying that they would reveal more information, quote, at an appropriate time. So that's the other thing we're trying to follow here about what that means.
Yo, they're both talking to American people like they ain't shit. At the appropriate time. You are the taxpayer. Hey, you slave ass taxpayers, we'll tell you which we want you to know in the appropriate time, because don't you ever forget the relationship between master and slave. Don't you ever forget it. And if you live in a trailer park, you best start understanding you're not part of the master scenario. You're part of the slave scenario. If you're struggling to pay the electric bill, you're part of the slave scenario. Okay? Yeah, any of you folks out there, don't get it twisted. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal struggling to pay the electric bill or a MAGA head Republican. If you're struggling to pay that electric bill, you ain't part of the master scenario. You know, you're part of the shut up and wait till we tell you so scenario. Oh, man, this is just, it's sad. It's sad, but that's how folks want it to be, folks. Folks vote like that in America.
Own life, but she had said that she was recruited by Maxwell at Maralago. She told investigators this was in 2000.
Hold on, let me turn that up. Sorry about that. Boom.
2000. She was a teenager at the time that Maxwell lured her and introduced her ultimately to Giuffre Epstein and facilitated this abuse with him and with other people, she had said. So President Trump, for the first time, is now confirming at least part of her story about being recruited from Maralago specifically. At this point, how important is it to get the full understanding of President Trump's knowledge at the time that this was happening?
Well, you said it exactly. President Trump just corroborated her, and may she rest in peace. Corroborated her when she says, that's where I met Epstein, Mar-a-Lago. So that's very important. And the follow-up questions that I would have if I were cross-examining or even asking direct questions of the president.
Les, yo, get out here with that lazy stuff, man. If voting mattered, they wouldn't allow it. Well, I mean, are you trying to say you matter because you're alive? I mean, come on, Les. You got to get into some details way more deeper than that. That's an oversimplification. If voting mattered, they wouldn't allow it. Okay, so what you're saying is that you rather go back to the days where you didn't have a vote? Is that what you're saying? You want your president you just want to have a president and people have no vote, and you think that means that's a sign of you mattering? Slaves in the United States could not vote. Is that what you want to be, Les?
You said, or your spokesperson said, he was a creep. What made him a creep? What did he do that you found creepy? How many of these people you say he took, he refers to them as people, were women, not just women, under age 18, which means they weren't women. They were girls. Why were you so concerned? Did you have any concern? So those are the follow-up questions. Did he see President Trump? Oh, he's taking all the teen girls. He's a creep because X, Y, and Z. He hasn't articulated that, but he hasn't been asked those direct questions. Now that he's confirmed Ms. Giuffre, maybe it's time to, if he wants to, answer the questions, ask him some more direct questions.
Yeah, in fact, it took him a while to even and eventually get to that Virginia Giuffre answer. I want to play that part of this Q&A specifically. Let's listen.
Here's your boy Joe Rogan. Now, this is Joe Rogan. He's getting in his feelings because, like a lot of these folks that watch Joe Rogan, they didn't have any thought in their brain to say like, whoa, Trump was friends with Epstein. Maybe Trump's all inside of the list. That wasn't their reaction for some reason. They were like, no. His main client, his best buddy for 10 years is the one that's going to clean up the swamp.
Trump was going to come in, and a lot of things are going to be resolved.
This is just crazy. I mean, I just don't. I told y'all, this guy, he has a big platform, but he's just an average thinker. He's not that he's not that deep with it. You know what I mean? He's coming off of what's that damn show, X Factor. So you can't go wrong. You're going to have the numbers. He's coming off of UFC. You're going to have big USA numbers. But what he did with that is make himself look like a dumb ass. And he is. He is. I'm just saying it. He would tell you flat out, he ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, yo. He's not. And I think if you just ask him like that, he would tell you, But now he's eating, getting pie in his face. And this is what it sounds like.
Resolved. Yeah. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to figure everything out. And when you have this one hardcore line in the sand that everybody's been talking about forever, and then they're trying to gaslight you on that.
He is rebuking the base, like almost like spitting in their face.
Yeah. Trump is protecting other pedophiles.
Facts.
Like, that's what it is.
Jonathan, how dangerous is this politically for the president?
It's very dangerous politically for the president to have basically figures in popular culture turning on him. But, when you dance with opportunists, they're going to look for other people to dance with.
Let's get you to NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba, NBC's Melanie Zanona on Capitol Hill, NBC Justice reporter Ryan Riley is also in Washington, and then here in New York, MSNBC legal analyst and former Assistant Manhattan District Attorney Catherine Christian. Melanie, tell us about this move from Senator Schumer, and will it work?
Well, there are a lot of questions right now about whether there is any enforcement mechanism for Democrats, given they are in the minority, but they are using this rarely used law in order to at least request the Epstein files. That law states that an executive agency, on the request of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs of the Senate, or any 5 members thereof, shall submit any information requested of it relating to any matter within the jurisdiction of the committee. And in this letter to Attorney...
Now this is what I'm saying. Obviously, I mean, my thinking is like this. I'm only coming, I'm coming from my perspective, but I would think it would be rational, pro-American, and also one that acknowledges different types of Americans. I'm not trying to say that MAGA people are not Americans, for example. I'm not trying to say any other American is not American. It's that platform that's trying to say other people is not American, which is a bullshit platform because myself, if you want to talk about deep roots in the United States of America, I'm more American than most of the people in Trump's fucking cabinet, period. By far. I mean, to say more is an understatement because you got Elon Musk there. You got Stephen Miller, who's only a 2nd generation American. You got Trump, who's only like 2nd or 3rd generation American. I mean, fuck them. I'm talking to, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying other people that are 1st and 2nd generation. I'm not talking to y'all. That's cool. Y'all cool too. You're equals. Right. But I'm saying as far as the platform that Stephen Miller is running on, the platform that Elon Musk ran on, the platform that Trump ran on, fuck them. They phonies running on that platform. They got some nerve running on that platform, trying to, act like the American flag is them, drape themselves in the American flag. Motherfucker, we know what a real American is. You don't need to drape yourself in the flag. That don't fool nobody. Okay. And we know the history of America. We know who has impacted the United States of America in history. We know who helped us become a country. We know what the environment was like, what the other people surrounding America. We know how other people came from other parts of even America to the United States of America when it became a country in the beginning. Yes, people came from Haiti. People came from Jamaica. People came from Cuba. Yeah, in the beginning. Okay, not just somebody who came, not just someone who came out of Trump's granddaddy's nutsack last week. You know what I'm saying? So we know there's a history of a lot of people, natives. There's a history of early Europeans coming to the country. So I acknowledge all that. It's the maggots that don't acknowledge it, right? But having said that, to me, I don't really care how you voted the last election, because I think if you voted the last election, already you have learned something. I would think a MAGA person would have learned something, at the very least, learned what Joe Rogan learned. That, hey, some bad assumptions were made there. At least Joe Rogan is a man enough to admit that. And so anybody that voted for Trump and you're a man or woman enough to admit that, you missed some things, that you were terribly wrong and you wish you didn't. Hey, I'm cool with y'all. I don't have an issue with that. And it's not that I'm saying you need to be Democrat or anything like that. I'm just saying at least you're being reasonable about the candidate you chose and what this person has turned out to be. You see what I mean? That's important for the future. The other people that want to stay in their box and just hold on to a fairy tale, come on, y'all. You guys are a waste of goddamn time. Secondly, 80% of Americans don't. 1/3 of Americans, that's 80 million Americans, don't vote in presidential elections. So somebody in here in the chat was saying if they wanted us to vote, if voting mattered, they would have never gave it to us. No, 1/3 of you don't use your right. 1/3 of you don't use your right. Wars were fought over this. People's blood was shed over this, and not just black people's blood. People's blood was shed over this right to vote, right to own property. Women couldn't own property. Women couldn't vote. You see what I mean? There's a lot of aspects to this that I think some people try to make very, very narrow and only understand the part that they think resonates with them. You better start understanding the parts that resonate with Americans, plural, because there's many different ways that these things affect people, not one nepotistic, narrow way. You see what I mean? Like, you got a community of people to live across the country. You see, I'm just speaking for myself. I've traveled the country. I've traveled parts of America too, outside of the country. And I've traveled up to other countries as well, outside of America. So I would think you could hear that in my speech and how I frame my thoughts and the information that I bring. Right. And also how I'm not really biased. I don't have a real hatred for different kinds of Americans. You don't have to be like me to be an American. I don't need you to be lock and step like me to have a respectable conversation with you. I'm from the big city, but I've spent time in the country on farms. I know what it's like to milk some cows, and not just like one day for a little visit. I know what it's like to collect eggs out of the chicken coops as a kid, and not just for one day as a visit. You see what I mean? I know what it's like to go skidoo riding in the north and not just one day. You see what I'm saying? I know what it's like to do these things. That's why I love America. I've traveled outside. I know that the U.S. is a beautiful country. But a lot of Americans never get to see that country. A lot of Americans don't know what's beautiful about the U.S. and they get caught in these little narrow-minded arguments, That's not me. But in any case, whoever you voted for last time, I don't give a shit. I hope you learned your lesson and get ready for what's coming. Because it's not looking good. If there was a foreign attack on the U.S. right now, American citizens would be in far worse shape than they were after 9/11. Straight up. And you might want to think that, because when it comes to blackmail and honeypot games with rich and powerful politicians and elitists, a foreign attack is not out of the book. It's not out of the playbook. You see what I'm saying? Straight up. So people really need to start taking things serious, get out of their own little emotional situation, their own little political dichotomy where it's always wrong if it's on the left and it's always right if it's on the left or something like that. Get out of that situation, because you're not in a safe situation. You are going to have a lot of natural disasters. You have a chaotic government that's out of control. Your Supreme Court is corrupt. And your leaders could very well be blackmailed right now. You could have foreign agents getting information faster than the American people right now out of the US. So, and it ain't over. Don't think that it's over just because you figured out that Trump may have been with some of these little girls, or because you figured out Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Don't think it's over. It ain't far from over. Huge disaster can strike right now. And you know why it can? Because you goddamn Americans are fucking so goddamn divisive. You're stupid. You're fucking stupid. You're weak. You are weak. I know this because I've been to other countries. I know how people pull together. Even with political division, damn, they pull together way better than goddamn Americans. You all are weak as shit. Seriously, man. It's tiring sometimes. Anyway, this is the Democrats. They want to get at, they're saying they want to get at these files. But we all know this. There's MAGA people that don't believe the Democrats want to get at the files. But if you don't believe they want to get at the files, why wouldn't you hold them to it anyway? Why wouldn't you say, okay, I don't believe you really want to know who's in these files, but go and get them. Show me those files anyway. We want to see the files. I would think you would support any effort to get these files released. Now that you know Trump is not going to release them without protecting not just himself, but loads of other people. They've already said it. They just didn't tell you. They just didn't drop it in the media, but they've said this. If you go and research it yourself, you will find out. Check it. It's there.
General Pam Bondi, they request all the files, material, any documents related to the Epstein case, but they also implore the agency to take all necessary steps to protect any identifiable information about the victims, as well as removing any materials that depict child sexual abuse. And that was one of the concerns that the administration has cited as a reason why it has yet to release those files. So just another prime example here of how Democrats are trying to capitalize on an issue that has divided the GOP and really trying to keep the heat on President Donald Trump.
And so, Monica, we know the White House has restricted who can discuss Epstein with reporters, but the president has continued to field questions day after day. And each time he seems to give new details or raise even more questions. Walk us through this Air Force One exchange and his comments regarding Virginia Giuffre, that crucial Epstein accuser.
Yeah, Anna, over the last couple of days while he was traveling in Scotland, the president was the one introducing some new information, trying to give sort of an evolving explanation of what caused a falling out between him and Jeffrey Epstein all those years ago. And yesterday he provided some new details for the first time, saying that it was a couple of employees at his Maralago facility, specifically at the spa, that Jeffrey Epstein tried to hire away from him, including Virginia Giuffre, who of course, was a very prominent and outspoken survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. And we know from just those details that the president provided.
Look at this. Hold on. Let me read this question. Just think in the comments. Donald Williams wrote, read your state constitutions. It will change your view. Yeah, I think people just need to read their state constitutions. Read it. Yo, let's be honest, Donald. Most Americans don't read their fucking constitution, whether it's federal or state. Let's just be honest. Most Americans, I'm even surprised. I'm curious to really know how many can read on a high enough level to even be able to really understand the words in the Constitution, the sentences, to be honest with you. And not that that's an excuse, but I know for a fact most Americans do not read their Constitution, federal or state. I know that for a fact because they behave like that, Americans behave like that for a lot, But look at this picture. Look at this picture. So we know that Epstein, Maxwell, she's from the UK, right? If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. She's from the UK. The person to the left of her is from the UK, obviously, right? He's quote unquote a prince, right? I don't know if he's active anymore, and the victim is in the center. Now, do you think Trump is going to want his name redacted? Do you think Trump is going to redact his name? Do y'all think Trump is going to redact his name in those files? The files are coming out, or they at least have a plan B. They're waiting to see how hard American people, they're really looking at the MAGA base to see how hard the MAGA base is pressing for this. And then they will release it. But here's something a lot of people don't know. They have already redacted not only Trump's name when he was a private citizen, anything of Trump when he was a private citizen is redacted. And loads of other people have already been redacted. That's what's going on right now. They needed time to do this. And like I said, when you talk down to people like dogs, they pretty much, accept it. It's like gaslighting. It's like when the person you trust, the person that you thought loved you, told you, became suddenly very violent towards you. That's what a lot of MAGA people are experiencing through language. Trump is talking down to them now. His staff, his administration is talking down to the MAGA people now. So the MAGA people, a lot of them are still in shock, and they haven't come out of it yet to get to the next step, what to do, right? They're just kind of, out of it emotionally. But in my view, having said that, in my view, this is one of the people to the left that he's going to redact, because although Trump pretends like he doesn't have much to do with, other people outside of the United States of America, I'm pretty sure he have some closer friendships than people would like to think. MAGA people would like to think,
That he claims he told Jeffrey Epstein to stop it, and that when he did it again, he told him, quote, get out of here. So this was something where the president was willing to share more details that, to your point, is only going to raise more questions like, did he say something to anybody at the time? Was he concerned about that? Why did he think Jeffrey Epstein was trying to hire these younger women away from his property? And where did that
he hired younger women. He hired minors on his own Maralago estate, right? Which is which he called, what did he call it? He called it a resort, right? Mar-a-Lago, like a resort, a place you go to and get massages, things like that. Well, she was one of the towel girls there. So it almost sounds like Trump was almost running his own honeypot blackmail scheme too. It almost sounds like that. I wouldn't be surprised. But in any case, he did not talk about this woman as if he had any concern for her at all. This girl, this woman at this time, or this person, this human. He just said he stole her like a piece of property. He didn't engage in any part of her own story from her own mouth in terms of what she went through. He never said, I feel so sorry for her. It's terrible what Jeffrey did to her. Giuffre's convicted. It's over. He's done what he has done. He's going down as the most prolific pedophile in the country, and also sex traffickers, right? Now, but he still has sweet words for this guy. He has sweet words for Ghislaine Maxwell too. It's all sweet words. And if you listen to the words when it comes to the victims, he expresses no empathy towards them whatsoever. And I would think that if you're a person that is concerned about how you pay your rent, how you pay your electricity, how you pay your health care, how you take care of your kids, how you get along day to day, if you get a fair wage, working wage, I would think if you're one of those people in that class of Americans, that you would have a little empathy for another person in your class bracket being exploited like this. Because Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell and Trump don't seem to express much ever when they have the chance.
Ultimately lead
Not
to.
in
And
words.
then the falling out that's been reported elsewhere is something that maybe took place a couple of years later over a potential.
The Mar-a-Lago worker, who said that? The Mar-a-Lago worker, she was a minor. She was a minor then. And Epstein found her when she was a minor and started trafficking her as a minor. You see, yeah, she was even younger working at Mar-a-Lago than even with Epstein. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And so what was she doing there? Think about this. Just think about it. Like, what is and then there's more questions to be asked. If she was working for you, where are the tax papers? Did you pay her Social Security? How did you file the taxes if she was an employee? How did you pay her? What were her workers' rights? Where is her contract? Hey.
Potential real estate deal. The White House had said he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago because he was, quote, a creep. So where does that all line up in the timeline? That's something that now the White House is likely going to face even more questions on as they're trying to change the subject to.
No, I don't think anybody has. No one so far has accused Trump, except there is one person that has accused Trump, and she gave testimony. She filed answered it in a deposition. If you're curious about that, right? If you want to know the people that have named Trump, right? But yeah, there it is. And but this victim that worked for Trump, that was sex trafficked by Epstein, didn't say that Trump slept with her. That's not what she said. It's another girl that had relations with Trump that's already been on record years ago and made a deposition. Both of these girls have been on record years ago, and they were all of the girls have been ignored. All of them. They've all been ignored. They were all ignored in the beginning. They've all been ignored by the public. Like, basically, if this happened to you, the public would ignore you. That's basically what it is. If you have a child and that came across some rich people and ended up being sex trafficked or sexually exploited, they would ignore you and your child. Basically is what's going on, because you, not being a wealthy person, you don't have the money to keep going to civil court. You, not being a wealthy person, you're not given the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the criminal justice system, because these people have the best lawyers on earth. They can pay for the best. And in a capitalistic society, money tends to be the difference between a lot of the outcomes in reality. Like, if you're stressing every day to pay your bills and don't know how you're going to pay them after you worked a hard day's job or a month at work, average salary, things like this, the difference between your lifestyle, which you can afford to have, and how you handle your problems all comes down to money in the United States of America. So you see what I mean? So justice also is connected to that, because you pay for justice. You pay lawyers.
Trump was going to come in, and a lot of things are going to be resolved. Yeah. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to figure everything out. And when you have this one hardcore line in the sand that everybody had been talking about forever, and then they're trying to gaslight you on that.
He is rebuking the base. like almost like spitting in their face.
Trump is protecting other pedophiles.
Facts.
Like, that's what it is.
Jonathan.
Yo, there's a person. Let me see if I still have this link up here. 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find this. There is a person. We were talking about this last week, and you could easily find this. This is out on the net. It's for the public, and it's been before the public many times, and people just people aren't impressed. If you ask me, my personal opinion is people are not impressed with young girls that say that they have been sexually assaulted, period. They're definitely not concerned about males or a person that has a lot of in-depth knowledge about it. When you're speaking on a topic somehow, but this is somebody who talked about her experience with Trump as a minor. She was like 12 or 13 years old. Nobody gave a damn what she said. Here it is.
Interview on my own free will.
Okay. Was anything promised to you if you do this interview?
There was nothing promised to me for doing this interview. No.
Hang on, guys. Yeah. We need quiet. Yeah. One more time, please.
No, there was nothing promised to me for doing this interview.
Excellent. Everything that you will tell us during this interview, is it the truth?
Yes, everything that I say at this interview will be the truth.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's start with, how did you meet Donald Trump?
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Giuffre Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump.
And how old were you when you met him?
I was 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the initial meeting, how did that work?
Whew. The first time that I met Donald Trump was...
Guys! Seriously. Okay, you can hear that? We need absolute quiet. Okay, sorry.
And the first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Giuffre Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, "You need to use a glove." And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, "No one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove." So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party.
And the person having the party, who is this person?
It was Mr. Giuffre Epstein was having the party.
And for those who don't know, who is Giuffre Epstein?
As Giuffre Epstein is Giuffre Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties.
And when you say you're a recruiter, what does that mean?
There was, I originally came to New York trying to be a model, and in my travels I met a girl named Tiffany there who was very interested in me and said that that's what she did, is that she helped girls, get what they wanted, and she could help me get into modeling. That she knew a lot of people that were higher ups, and that it would be no problem.
Now
That's
for
why she
for go to compete about their looks and very young girls. In other words, the older men could have their pick of the litter. You see what I mean? Kind of a disgusting thing, but again, the fashion lines, the fashion chains, and the pageant chains that have been caught up in this and already had people go to jail and prosecuted for this very stuff. This is big name brand stuff. These are not people you never heard of. These are people you gave money to at the shop when you went out shopping and shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. But again, you're listening to one of the people that made a deposition, a woman, a victim that made a deposition about Trump and being assaulted by Trump. And she's describing what went on in her other experiences too, not only with Trump. You see what I mean? But, I think, I don't know what would make a person, I'm just going to say this to the chat. People that understand this and empathize with these victims and get the big picture, also not just these victims, but understand what honeypots are and how dangerous they are, how politicians and people can easily be blackmailed, and that harms your government. That harms, because obviously everyday people don't vote for foreign influence in their country, right? So, but this honeypot trap is a way foreign governments have influence in the United States national and international programs, right? What they engage in. So, in terms of security, that's another level of it. But don't worry. I want to say to you people that get the point, don't worry so much about the trolls in the chat, the people that pretend like they don't get it, because a certain percentage of them are trolls that are pretending. You see what I mean? Like, internet trolling is farmed these days, farmed by political parties, farmed by foreign governments, so a certain amount of that, maybe 10% of it, you might be able to see in this chat here too, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, shame on you people that don't care about these girls. And shame on you people that don't care about your politicians and the need for them to be clean and to be doing things ethically and morally and be engaged in the American people's business, not this debauchery, Shame on y'all. Yeah, I'm back. I could see the chat. Yo, Dee, you're asking where were her parents? Well, where are the people's parents that are addicted to fentanyl? Where are the people's parents that that had to live through the 9/11 attacks? Where were their parents? Where were the people's parents, that have to deal with any of the things that you see in the society that is wrong? Where are the parents? Where are the parents when your president is being a victim of blackmail? Where are the parents then? Where are the parents when any of this stuff is going? Where are the parents when the flood happened in Texas? Where are your parents at? Where are your parents? That's a silly thing to say, because if you know anything about sex trafficking and trafficking of human beings and espionage, you're dealing with highly manipulative people that could manipulate even your parents. Just like people are so toy these days, they could be manipulated by anybody and vote for a damn pedophile. You see what I'm saying? Where was your parents when you voted for the pedophile, D? Okay? Like, come on, Where were your parents when you voted for a pedophile, DD? Okay, the same question could be asked to you. You're asking the girl you're asking the person that was the victim, where were her parents? She just got finished describing, or in the middle of describing what these people had her do. And you're like, where were her parents? It's, I'm sorry, but
interview on my free will.
it's
On
for
my
real. It's
own free
real.
will.
Okay.
Where are her
Was
parents?
anything promised
Yeah,
to
where
you
are her
if
parents?
you do this interview?
There was
Where was
nothing
Donald
promised
Trump's
to me,
parents?
for doing this interview. No.
Hang
You
on,
know,
guys.
you may as well
Be
ask
quiet.
the kid who gets shot by you may as well ask the kid who gets shot by a stray bullet, where were their parents? Where were their parents? Where were their parents? The person who gets, happens to be innocent, who gets caught up in the middle of a bank robbery, where were your parents at? Where were your parents? I mean, come on, this is ridiculous, The and I can understand why you would have a person like Trump be the president right now. If this is how you think, if this is how simple you think, I can understand it. But again, I could also understand it if you think this way and after paying all your bills, all your taxes, all your essentials each month, you take home less of your hard-earned dollars in your own pockets than other people in other Western nations. I could understand you thinking that way if your life is really that way. I get the point. Basically, it means you're ignorant to what's going on. I get that, but it is ignorance, and it's not her parents' fault. Um, people, these are serious operations done by people more serious than most of us, with more capabilities and access to information and the ability to manipulate almost anyone they want to. These are more like military operations. These honeypots, these sex trafficking criminals, even drug traffickers, people, these are like military operations. These are not civilian things that these people are getting caught up in. This is high level stuff. And a lot of people fall for it just because it's the power dynamics, involved. Yeah. But in any case, I can see, Dee Dee, you don't want to see this one anymore. So I'm going to stop this just to stop your feelings. I don't want you personally being offended by me showing a woman's deposition regarding Trump and Epstein. I could see how that would offend you personally, but I just wanted to share with the other people that didn't know that there was a deposition about Trump, and it is why you haven't heard about it. It's probably because no one played it to you. And now that you heard it, you can decide however you react to it. It's your choice. It's freedom of choice. I don't force you to do anything. Yeah, that video, it's too long. Actually, for those of you that have never seen that video of the victim who made this deposition is widely available on the internet. It's not something that anybody kept a secret, except Trump. He doesn't talk about it, right? And a lot of people that support Trump don't talk about it. I don't know if it means they believe it or don't believe it, or if they've seen it or hasn't seen it, but that seems to be the status quo and the pattern that emerges. But in any case, it's not just one victim. Trump's been mentioned throughout, as the DOJ has admitted, throughout the Epstein files, and so there's a lot of that right now being eliminated. Essentially, whose names are on these files and this kind of stuff. Yeah, hold on. Let me turn this up real quick so y'all can see it or hear it. Excuse me. Yeah, I think people are going to be surprised about how much is redacted. And yeah.
Here are the two pieces of information you asked for. Numbers 1, Bloomberg's report. Bloomberg reported on August 1st, 2025, that the FBI redacted Donald Trump's name, along with several other high-profile individuals, from its internal files on Jeffrey Epstein.
So, I don't know. Like, it seems to me like people that are serious about this topic might want to know who the other high-profile individuals are whose names have been redacted. Again, they're not talking about the victims, or for a lot of MAGA people, these are just alleged victims, you know. But they're not talking about those victims, those people, the minors, the people that say they were assaulted, who have corroborated, these testimonies through other victims, right? Not those. We're talking about other people that are not claiming to be victims, whose names have been, erased from these files already. This is not just happening now. This happened rapidly. Look, Trump came into office in January 20th. February 20th would have been a month, and March 20th would have been 2 full months. And here already, before 2 full months has occurred, they already started redacting Trump's name and other people's names.
Sources told Bloomberg that during a March 2025 review of around 100,000 pages, FBI agents flagged multiple references to Trump. FOIA officers then redacted those mentions on the basis that he was a private citizen in 2006, making his name eligible for privacy protections under FOIA Exemption 7C and similar rules, Cite Turn Search 18 Turn Search 16. Bloomberg emphasized that being named or redacted in the files does not imply any misconduct or criminality.
Right. It doesn't imply any misconduct or criminality, and it also doesn't absolve anyone of it. It could actually mean a criminal, a person who committed criminal activities' name is being redacted. They're not saying either way. It doesn't mean either one. It could be an innocent person's name is redacted or a guilty person's name is redacted. A person who's committed a crime and hasn't yet been charged of it and tried of it or convicted of it versus a person who hasn't yet been or will be soon. You see what I mean? So, yeah. But if you notice, when they report on Trump, they have to say that every single time. Him pardoning Maxwell doesn't mean he's guilty of any wrongdoing. Doesn't mean he's involved in any kind of cover-up. They say this all the time when it comes to Trump.
Cite Turn Search 0 Turn Search 16. Hub 2. FBI actions as reported. Internal review. The FBI deployed approximately 1,000 agents in March 2025 to comb through Epstein-related documents.
Stop right there. 1,000 agents. 1,000 agents? I mean, just by mass alone. Well, let's put it to you this way. If you don't really think that his name is in there in the first place, you wouldn't put anybody. You wouldn't assign. You would sign 20. Hey, 20 is good. 100 is good. 200. 500. 500. Hey, no, we're talking about 1,000 agents. But it doesn't mean that he's guilty of anything, y'all. Please. It's just 1,000 agents. It's just the taxpayers' dollars. You know what I'm saying? Although the taxpayers claim that they want to know who's in the files, the taxpayers' dollars is being used to erase whose names are in the files.
Identifying records where Trump and other public figures were mentioned. Cite Turn Search 7 Turn Search 16. Flagging process. Agents were instructed to flag documents containing Trump's name for review. Cite Turn Search 7 and Search 10. FOIA team redactions. A team of FOIA officers applied redactions to multiple mentions based on privacy exemptions, treating Trump and others as private individuals at the time the Epstein probe began. Cite Turn Search 69. DOJ response. After the redactions, the documents were sent to Attorney General Pam Bondi. In May 2025, Bondi reportedly informed Trump that his name had appeared in the files. By July 2025, DOJ and the FBI issued a statement that no further documents would be released. Cite T-turn-search Wire-turn-search 7.
Right. So, yeah. So, apparently they're covering up more than Trump's name in terms of people listed in the files. Yeah. I don't know if that bothers MAGA folk. It bothers me. I want to know. I don't give a damn if they're Republican or Democrat, if they're high to do people, if they're whoever they are. I don't care. I myself, as an American citizen whose family has deep roots that go back past the Civil War into even the beginnings, the foundings of the country, I take offense to anyone's name being redacted that was not trafficked. If the people were not trafficked, I take great offense, and I believe the country is in grave danger until all of the names and information, this period, is released, other than the victims. You see, that's what I believe. Now, everybody's not as patriotic as me. Some people want information to be hidden from them and don't want to know everything that has been going on with the United States government, the one they pay taxes to and will continue to pay taxes to, no matter what they think.
Here's a clear summary of what Bloomberg reported and what the FBI did regarding Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files, along with both sets of details. Tier 1, what Bloomberg reported. According to Bloomberg News, 2025-0801. Please open your app to see this link. FBI officials deliberately redacted Donald Trump's name during a 2025 document review of files related to Jeffrey Epstein. The redaction occurred as the Bureau prepared files for public release under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. The justification cited was that Trump was a private citizen at the time of the early Epstein investigation, 2006, which grants him greater privacy protections under FOIA. Bloomberg's reporting highlighted that multiple prominent names were similarly redacted for the same reason. Importantly, Bloomberg emphasized, open quote, the presence of a person's name in the FBI's Epstein files does not indicate wrongdoing, close quote. Number 2. What the FBI did, based on files and FOIA practice. The FBI's FOIA office applies redactions under specific legal rules. In this case, the main justification was Exemption C of FOIA. Protects personal privacy in law enforcement records when disclosure would constitute an unwarranted invasion of privacy. According to FOIA logs and advocacy group reports, e.g. Truthout and Muckrock, Trump's name appeared in some earlier unsealed documents, but was later redacted or omitted from others during post-2020 reviews. Some internal memos, FBI FD 302s, interview summaries, and references in Epstein's address books have Trump either redacted or referenced indirectly, e.g. a public figure. The DOJ and FBI have not confirmed publicly whose names were redacted, but investigative journalists and FOIA experts believe Trump, Clinton, and others were among them.
Okay, so you see, this is the MAGA Trump administration approving redactions of Clinton's name and others. How many the others are? I would probably say it's at least in the dozens. Like it's at least 1 dozen because the others, we're talking about 20 years. Y'all, we got to use our brains. 20 years of sex trafficking, espionage, and all of this, and tape recording. You don't put up all this camera work and keep all these safes and all of this stuff and have all of these witness testimony in depositions citing many people. You don't have people hanging themselves and all types of stuff going on if just for 2 people, 3 people, a handful, 5. I'm sorry. There's and in any case, they put 1,000 FBI agents just out there just to flag Trump's name. 1,000? I mean, damn. This is just. But like I was saying, I told you, they are never going to release these files. You will not get this information because this information will get rid of the swamp. It will also make sure that anyone around the current swamp will not have anything to do with the government anymore, including possibly some civil Supreme Court justices. Yeah, we got some men over there that seem to like it raw. You know, some old men. I mean, nasty men. Boy, woo. I mean, who you think, Clarence Thomas is getting down with? Let's be honest. I'm just saying. Don't get me wrong. They could still be getting down in their marriage, but this guy don't seem too ethical. I mean, is he above a honeypot? I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously. I mean, I wouldn't say he would be. So, and then there's Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh, he's been known to rape. Allegedly. I mean, his whole thing, his whole Senate hearing, there was women coming out against him. College, high school, it's like, damn, dude, like, is it really like that? Yeah. So again, if American citizens feel like the United States is pretty safe, you don't have anything to worry about. Okay, you just continue on doing what you're doing. But my estimation tells me that the United States is in grave danger. In danger of a physical attack from outside forces and corroborating with inside forces. That's what I would think. Now, how they're corroborating, what telephone do they use? Do they use Signal app, for example? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't have to. Maybe they got that covered already. Maybe they got people inside of the administration. Maybe they have already. Maybe this new building is being built out of materials that has spy shit already in the materials. Who knows? But I believe that unlike the September 11th attacks that kind of brought Americans together, right, in a different kind of way, I believe the next one will not bring America. It will divide Americans. It will be the beginning of something worse. And, I think Americans have seen the lead up to this. The signs are there. The red flags are there. You have a government that doesn't want to send in the feds in natural disasters. You have a government that seems like it's okay with the people bleeding and using all up their spare reserves month after month, slowly for something. I don't know why that would be happening. Just inch after inch, more things getting more expensive. A government that is hostile to its neighbors, Canada and Mexico, extremely hostile. A president that seems to. Let me just play this thing. I mean, this. I watched this Donald Trump thing, and if you look at his damn face, if you look at this guy's face, is it here? Look at this guy's face. I think it's here. Look at his face. Hold on.
Brianna, good to be with you. Well, it comes closely after Todd Blanche, the number 2 person at the Department of Justice, met with her in private, spent hours with her getting her testimony, information about the whole Epstein scandal. And now we see her move to it, spent hours with her getting her testimony, information about the whole Epstein scandal. And now we see her move to a minimum security facility. Apparently, this is the same facility where Elizabeth Holmes is in Texas. It's a much better facility. She was taken out of Tallahassee at a low security facility and put into one which has a lower staff to inmate ratio. These are like dorms rather than cells. There's no perimeter fencing, so it's much better. Now, is it because of what she said to Todd Blanche?
So you could see Trump, he's okay with Ghislaine Maxwell. He's pro Ghislaine Maxwell, even though he says he's out there trying to stop traffickers, right? But he's not. But hold on, let me find this one clip because they show Trump's face. And Trump, he gives some signs. He gives off the physical signs of not, what they say a person does when they're lying.
When
Look
the
at this. I just
feds
want y'all to
went
see it.
into
Hold on.
Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion, they had to use an axe to break into his safe. And when they broke into his safe, they found thumb drives. What's on those thumb drives? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
American people never going to know that. Actually, a lot of MAGA people don't want to know what's on the thumb drives at all. Jeff, I don't think Rogan wants to know that either. But
Jeffrey
let's see here.
Epstein's convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been moved to a new prison. Maxwell has been serving a 20-year prison sentence in Florida. She's now headed to a minimum security prison in Texas.
CNN's Caitlin Polantz joins us now. So, Caitlin, talk to us about this new prison that she's going to.
Let me see here. Where is it at? Is it this one? Let me see. I forgot to stop Trump's face. Let me see this. Hold on.
Allen and former federal prosecutor Barrett Berger.
Is his face going? Are they going to show Trump here? Okay, no, it's not that one. 2 seconds. Let me see that. Is it? Is it? Okay, no. It must be this. Is it this one? Okay, I think it's this one.
Mr. President, did one of those
All right, look at his eyes. For those of y'all that's with me, right? Look at his eyes. Look at the direction of his eyes when he's being asked this question, right? Look at how his eyes move.
stolen, did one of those stolen, persons that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa.
He looked, you see that? He looked downward and off to the side. A lot of people say when you look up, you're referencing your natural memory, your good memory, right? And when they say when you're looking down, that's when you're trying to concoct a lie. You're trying to fabricate something. Like up to the side is like you're trying to access your memory for real. Sometimes when people close their eyes or whatever, but you often hear when they say you looking down to the side is trying to concoct the lie. But I don't know how many of y'all follow me with that. But again, if you don't, it's perfectly fine.
Did one of those stolen, persons that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people.
So, here's the other thing. Now, if you listen to what he's saying, it's 2025. He still doesn't know who she is. He's responding like he really doesn't know who she is. I think so. You mean after all this time, this woman has alleged all these things that you could be a part of, and you still don't know who she is? You don't know who she is? Okay. He doesn't know who she is, and then suddenly, I think so, and then suddenly, yeah. I don't know. For some of you all, that doesn't sound like he's covering up anything, but I'm not like some of y'all. I'm like the other some. Let's see here.
One of those stolen, persons that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think.
Now, if you ask somebody that you know in your real life about anything, let's say a butter knife, for example. Hey, yo, did you see that butter knife I had out here on the table just 5 minutes ago? And they started looking like that, off to the side and all of this shit. It's like, I don't know. I think so. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the type of folks you deal with in your regular life. I don't know. Myself, with my freedom, right? Because I am free, right? I live in one of the freest countries on earth. That's not the United States of America, but I would dare suggest that that's a man who's lying. body language and his actual rhetoric is clearly showing a man who is goddamn lying right here.
I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know, none whatsoever.
So this does open a bigger can of worms, so to speak.
Yeah, and for some others, they know he's lying just because he's moving his mouth. Mel, what's up?
Monica, despite Giuffre's accusations and the four accused.
Let me play this one more time. I don't know why. This is the one thing I would say the U.S. does get right. Even no matter what, evil, good, great guy, no matter what you think of them, at least the journalists get a chance to get you on camera talking.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know, none whatsoever.
Damn, he rushed off to that one. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, so damn, that's really creepy comment to make. Like, no complaints about us. Dude, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about, homeboy? Like, have you heard any of these any of this shit she's ever said about you, man? This dude, he sums all that shit up that people have been saying about him as, and this woman too, as, hey, she had no complaints about me. I guess he's saying, he's trying to say that she never charged him personally with anything. Only all the people who he's around and loves and says are good people, including Ghislaine Maxwell. He's about to pardon the person that trafficked her. This motherfucker, oh my God. Oh my God.
So this does open a bigger can of worms, so to speak. Monica,
Yep, bigger can of worms.
Stolen, persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know.
Whoa. How long did he give this pause? Like, what the hell? Dude, damn. That was like, oh man. I wonder, is this guy just, I don't know what to say, but for some people, this is believable. Some people, this is believable. Hey, what's up? What's the word for the day? Hey, y'all, I don't know this. What's the word for the day? Some people believe Trump out here. Take a look at the chat. So it's some folks that believe Trump. They don't think this looking down and off to the side is a sign of him lying. His words are like, somebody was even in the chat talking about the victim like this. Where were her parents? Where were her parents at? Where were her parents? Well, where was your parents when Texas got flooded? Where was your parents when the elite got their goddamn $1 trillion tax cut? Where was your parents? You know what I'm saying? Where was your parents? Where was your parents when the cartels was selling, distributing this guy? What do they call this stuff that's going around right now? I forget. Not heroin, but something else. Yeah, but where was your parents when all this shit was going on, huh? In other words, where are your parents? God damn it. Where are your parents? That's just the dumbest. I just can't believe it. That's really a bad look. That's really a bad look. But that's what people are on. That's what people are on these days. That's what people are on. Well, thanks to the good voters of MAGA, the person that was prosecuted by the Biden administration is about to walk free. Biden said that she was a sex trafficker. Trump is saying she wasn't. She got a bad deal. It was a hoax. Thanks to the voters, Trump is getting his way. Yeah. What do y'all think about that? Are y'all okay with that? Is that a good look? Is that a thumbs up for Trump, MAGA voters? Like, where y'all at in the chat? I see the civil-minded people in the chat too. I see y'all. Big up to y'all. But y'all MAGA voters, how do y'all feel like that? Like, Biden administration prosecuted this lady, threw her ass behind bars and convicted her and kept her alive. you know, so she could talk more. Okay. Trump didn't. The person he locked up ended up dead. Can't talk no more. He's covering up the files and about to release the one person who was who was charged of the crime and convicted. Like, what's up, y'all? Tell me what you know. Help me explain this to my kids, since you're worried about the kids. Explain this to the kids. I'm a parent. Let me know how I should explain this to my kids. You know, I'm waiting. Let me know. What should a parent do in this situation? I'm a concerned parent. I want to know, what should I do in this situation? How should I be responding to this? Let me guess. To the MAGA people who's talking about, where were her parents at when this was happening to her? I suppose you all want me to explain how it's okay to let the convicted sex trafficker walk, and how Biden was so bad for trying, arresting, and convicting her under his administration. How he was so bad, and how Trump is so good for letting her go and not releasing the files without redacting loads of people's names way before they even told you, way before even the media even asked us. They was out to redact all these files and all these folks' names in March, 1 month after Trump got into office. I mean, you just let me know. You just let me know. You let me know. You know, proud Americans. You're going to make America great again, huh? Yes, she should wear a MAGA hat, as a matter of fact. MAGA have to own this one. Ghislaine Maxwell, make America great again. Yeah. Whew. Any case, man, I promised y'all I'm gonna be back in a few hours. I got to take a break. I had a wonderful brunch with my youngest son. Whew. Wonderful brunch with him, and it's really a blessing being a father, watching my kids grow. It's not an easy job. You know, kids have it hard. They go through their moments in life and things like that when they're young, trying to figure out the world. But I'm happy that they're, number one, in a safe country, pretty much safe, have access to education. They decide their future. If they want to get an education, all they got to do is say, I want to go to this technical school. I want to go to this university. It's up to them. You see what I mean? It's not up to anybody else. It's not up to how rich I am or how much money I got in my pocket. No, they are totally free to make that choice themselves. I'm just here to give them a thumbs up and to answer some questions and to nurture them along the way to making those bigger decisions, you know, making sure they're safe and making sure they have somebody inspiring them to keep up in their studies and in their life, you know, and helping them be engaged in the life, you know. So I'm lucky in that sense. I couldn't be luckier, and I appreciate that. But as an American citizen, born and raised, a person who has deep roots in the United States, I have, deeper than a lot, you know what I'm saying? Deeper than a lot, and the deepest you could have outside of being Native American. It's my duty to, bring a insightful, nurturing and helpful conversation to my folks that can help bridge the gap in understanding, because a lot of times in the United States as Americans, we cut off from what's really going on in a lot of other parts of the world, and we don't believe our own government. So when somebody says some shit about, places like Denmark, when they start talking about free education and somebody says, you communists want to control everything. I could tell you, no, that's a lie. This is not a communist country. It's not even socialist. It's the economic engine is open and free trade. It's capitalist engine. They just decided that, hey, if we're going to have open and fair trade and do business like that, then the people that benefit, that really do get a leg, that really do have an advantage, also have to pay some taxes. You can't just hide all your money, and the United States hasn't done that yet. So on that note, I hope we can continue the conversation. Obviously, it's not going anywhere. That the next thing, I don't know if it's going to be a day tomorrow and her ass is going to be out of jail, but I'm going to tell you, Anybody that heard me say he is going to pardon her, you hear me. I did not waver. I've been saying this for weeks. I have not wavered one time. This man is going to pardon her. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong. But at the very least, she's getting her ass out of jail rapidly fast, faster than you may think, faster than even next year, likely. Because every day that Republicans don't find a way to clean up this bullshit they created, it's another dagger in their in their local support and their state level support. And they're afraid of that happening next year around in the midterm elections. The midterm elections is a time where people that claim to be fed up with this country, guess what? You could change the country forever. You could change the country in the midterm elections way more than the country could ever be changed in a presidential election. You know why? Because the midterm elections, if you get through 2/3 of the House, you can actually impeach federal Supreme Court judges that you think are getting fat off of the hog. You can impeach them. You can impeach a president. You can impeach a vice president. You can impeach any goddamn body. You can rewrite the rules pretty much. You can, but you people that don't vote won't be a part of that, obviously. But that's all it takes. That's an opportunity to say, hey, everybody needs a fair shot at healthcare. Everybody needs a fair shot at education. That's a chance right there in that election to do that. You could save your country from an imminent foreign attack. You could save yourself from having politicians that are blackmailed through espionage because they've been throwing their dick out on the table way too many times with young girls. Maybe not just only on Epstein's island. Maybe not just only involving Epstein. Maybe more. It's your chance to have a government that's not blackmailed. But hey, we'll see how that goes. I mean, there's no guarantee anybody want a goddamn thing anyway. So, and me, I pretty much have what I need. So I'm just going to look and see what the rest of y'all decide, Democrat, Republican, then I'm going to put my stamp on it. And, my stamp is going to people that want health care, but I know we ain't really going to get health care unless we clean up the swamp. My vote is for people that want to talk about education, access to education, but I know there's a lot of people that it ain't going to happen if the swamp is not cleaned up. I'm for people getting a fairer wage for a day's work, and bringing home more of their money after paying all of their expenses to themselves and their families. I'm for that. But I got to wait to see what the rest of Americans think about that before I can put my stamp on it, So on that note, I'm going to catch up with y'all in a few hours, and y'all be good. Enjoy your weekend, too, in the meantime. We're going to see and keep the conversation going. Peace, y'all. I told you so. She not out. Maxwell not out yet. She's on her way out.
Crying babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leave giving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a debt's owed? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the brink. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor.